Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of Therapeutic Thursdays. And today, again, you're only going to see the OGs of Therapeutic Thursdays and Kinesthetic Journeys here. And so we are actually coming to a very slow close to first session to the first season, and there are a couple of more episodes lined up. But we thought this would be like a good way to pause and reflect a little bit on our journey so far. So, Deepthi, would you like to start with how you are feeling at this point with 13 episodes done?
So it feels like it was just yesterday. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but it feels like it was just yesterday since we thought about it and we started putting out posters inviting people to join our watch our episodes, in fact. And then we went through an entire technical crisis shifting from Instagram to YouTube. And we had to just shift everything and figure out new technology and find out a way that works for us. So that is what happened in the beginning. And apart from that, I think it has been a very, very smooth journey, Purva.
Yeah, yep.
It was so amazing to interact with everybody. And even though we have all learned, most of the guests this time were our batchmates.
Hmm.
And we have all learned from the same mentors. And we all had the same experiences during the course. But when we talked to them, I realized each one has such different outlook and each one has a speciality that they are into now. So that's what I think. And it's so amazing to see all the people diversify and explore what they love and work with groups that they like and, expand their horizon. So that's been really nice. I feel really good about that.
Yeah, me too. It was also like sort of jumping off on what you said. It's so nice to see everyone coming into their facilitator personality a little bit. And there was so much learning that happened for me also because everyone is working with different groups, with different populations. Um, there are also people who are still studying, reading up more about it. And so much of what they know was I was able to sort of soak it up in. And so even that was a very good experience for me, I feel. So
Yes, I think beginning with Hina, because I don't know, somehow she is coming on top of my mind. She had so much to share about the groups that she was working with. Sorry, I just interrupted you, but I don't know, somehow Hina came to
yeah,
my mind.
yeah, absolutely. Also, like for me, the conversation with Divya was also very like touching because we talked about body image, body positivity, and how to deal with body image issues using DMT techniques. And it was like, most sessions I have wow moments, but I feel with Divya, the whole session was one long wow moment for me. So,
True. And she had so much to share and her experiences with every client, with her own body and her own image issues, all of that. There was so much that she wanted to talk about. And definitely, she is our guest on the next season
yep,
of
yep.
Therapeutic
Yes,
Thursdays. Definitely.
absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Also, like I feel with everyone, my most favorite part about having a conversation with any therapist or facilitator is when they bring in their experiences with the groups they're working or the clients they're working. And of course, the confidentiality is maintained. But actually seeing examples of people and how therapy, DMT works very well for them, how we are able to help people with what we have learned. Like hearing about those experiences is my absolute favorite thing, even on podcasts. Like we'll ask someone a question and they'll give like a one word or a sentence wise technical answer, and a lot of times people tend to jump to very real life examples, and that's like my, oh, okay, tell me about it, because that's, I feel, when even I can relate the most on a human level to see that the theory actually working. So I think for me, that's a very important thing.
Correct. And when I look back, I just remembered Vaidehi because she was talking about how she uses DMT techniques in her regular dance classes also. It
Yeah,
need not be a therapy session where you
yeah,
use these activities and your facilitator personality coming in there. But
yeah,
I feel as part of our other routines, right? As part of my personality as a mother, probably. It
yep,
is very welcoming to see the changes in my son right now,
yeah.
his body, his behavior patterns. So that gives me a capacity to observe better,
Mm.
and with that I can bring in the changes that I want to see, or or probably get my class. Like if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching something, then I feel as a DMT facilitator I have those tools inside me, inside my pocket, that I can bring out. And
Yeah.
you're finding it difficult to find the flow in this movement, then I bring Laban into picture and introduce a few techniques from there, and then I see the change. So that is something that I really enjoyed when I was talking to Vaidehi.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Like we also, I feel I unknowingly end up using a lot of DMT aspects into my interpersonal relationships as well, or just observing someone talk. So it's a very funny incident. So over here, I met a person and they asked me what I did. So saying I'm a dance movement therapy facilitator is like it's exhausting to explain it constantly to people. So the shorthand I use is like I'm a therapist. So, and then people who are actually interested will ask more, and then, I end up talking about DMT in brief. But so they asked me, okay, so what do you do? And and I said, I'm a therapist. And they were like, oh, I'm not the depressive types. And then and I was
Such a
like,
typical response.
and I was like, I'm not doing therapy on you right now. It's not like I'm, hypnotizing you and you have to. And so I was just thinking, I was talking to my husband about it as well. And I said, you know what? Now I'm kind of wondering why that would be her first response. And then he said, wow, that's such a DMT facilitator thing to say. Like he said, it didn't even cross my mind. But now because he said, okay, I think you're now starting to analyze this person actually, what they were scared of, you're now doing it at home.
Yeah,
So I feel that
yes.
that is happening. Like if someone moves a certain way, someone is talking about something a certain way, I tend to like in the background, I start analyzing a little bit. And this is also like one activity Preeti, who was also our guest, had asked us to do. I don't know if you remember. Towards the very
Yes.
starting, she just asked us to observe,
Observe
like
people.
go to a public place and observe people. And I'm actually now doing it, and I'm kind of able to come to very loose and primary conclusions and maybe even wrong conclusions, but it has become like a very important part of how I'm looking at people and the world.
No, it is, see, we become what we practice, right? And since we are therapists, I can imagine, let's say we replace a therapist with a doctor. The moment a doctor, somebody trained in that profession, looks at anyone, they are somehow, even if they want it or don't want it, there is an analysis that happens. Okay, you
Happens.
seem healthy, or,
Yeah.
I see that your eyes are a little yellow. Probably you
Yeah.
have jaundice. Let's get it tested. And they tend
Yeah.
to do that, right?
Yeah.
So I think as therapists also, we tend to think so much about, or read about, and talk about, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes a habit. And I feel that's good, because
Hmm.
that it keeps our mind
Yep.
active, and
Active.
our,
Yeah.
yeah, and we are always observing, and that is the basic skill that we need, most important and yet very basic skill that we
Yeah.
need
Yep.
when we are interacting with the clients. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that brings me to, I think, Vanita's episode, where we discussed a lot about how, as Indians, we are moving all the time, and we have a movement vocabulary of our own, and how folk dances and music and all are part of our culture. And
Yep,
I
yep.
remember that because I used to travel in metro when we were doing our sessions. And as part of my observation, I was observing every single person in the metro, and it felt like everybody has a rhythm of their own, they
Yeah,
were dancing
absolutely. Yeah.
without even realizing the way their heads move. Even
Yep.
while having a conversation on the phone, that's what people do in metros, right? And I could see, even if I'm not able to hear the words, but I could kind of guess what they were
Mm,
talking, because our language is so loud. Not
yep.
just our voice, but our
Yep.
facial expressions are loud.
Yep. Also, in fact, that episode sort of got me intrigued into this plausible research area about trying to find knowledge systems within the Indian culture, ancient Indian culture, regarding therapeutic movement. Because one very obvious, living, simple example is in the Aboriginal folk dances that we have. Of course, a lot of them have become stylized now, and that also has its own positives because now it's on a professional stage. It's a good way to keeping it alive. But just seeing a group of women dance for a festival at home or for a wedding, also there is so much somatic and movement based, but also cultural context to it where people are able to express themselves through the medium of song and movement, which they otherwise in their normal lives don't do. And so I think that's a very living, tangible example of the existence of therapeutic movement in our culture. Like
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah.
go on, go on.
So that also, like, I was digging a bit and I didn't even have to go really far. So in Maharashtrian culture, we have this thing called Bhondla, which is done during the Navaratris. And these are
Okay.
done for young girls. And it's a very simple thing. You have to hold hands and walk in a circle while holding hands and singing songs. And the songs, and because I also used to participate every year, every house wherever there's girl, so they'll say with this Purva's Bhundla, for example. And the songs, they are they're made in a funny way, but they teach a lot about relationships the girl might have after getting married. So those songs become sort of a way to prepare young girls for marriage. And so when I was young, I never thought about it that way. And now, like, I was just thinking about it almost right after Vanita's episode. I was like, okay, the songs are really problematic, but then at that time, marriages would also be like that. There is, for example, one song where the mother-in-law, the daughter-in-law is asking the mother-in-law, can I go to my mother's house? And she says, yeah, you can go, but after you plant a seed of bitter gourd. And then she says, okay, now I've planted. Now can I go? She said, no, wait for the sapling to grow a bit. Okay, it has grown. Can I go? No, wait for it to have leaves. Okay, now wait for it to have to bear the vegetable. Okay, now wait for the vegetable to ripe. Okay, now just make the vegetable and then go. Okay, now eat and then you can go. And I feel so even at the end of the song, there is no mention of her being able to go to her visit her mother's home. And the metaphor is also nice, right? They could have used any other vegetable, but they're using the bitter gourd.
But they use
And
better good.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so there were a lot of songs that talk about Maharashtrian culture, talk about the freedom movement. They talk about Shivaji Maharaj and the Swaraj movement that he led. And they drown, like, sort of condensed down to such interpersonal relationships as well. And so I was like, okay, so it's there, very much there, these cultural connotations with music and movement. So,
Actually, that is what I was about to tell you when I interrupted, right? You gave a nice story to it, but my thought process. Um,
I'm here. I'm
so, yeah, yeah. So, because of these social interactions, I think the social skills, when I observe my parents' generation or my grandparents' generation, their social skills were above par.
Mm,
Like the way they maintained their relationships, the way they had friendships.
mm,
I remember in our house when papads were made, the entire locality would gather, all my
mm,
relatives would gather. And how often do we do that today?
mm.
And those days they were all singing songs, gossiping, doesn't matter, but there were a lot of social interactions. Today, I don't do that as much. And I see that the next generation has even fewer opportunities for social interactions, and hence the problems with their relationships.
Yeah.
People are not able to keep their marriages intact.
Mm,
Relationships with their own siblings and parents are also going sour
yeah.
because
Yeah.
we are really, really not built for that anymore. We don't practice our uh, cultural, social skills
Mm,
anymore.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think we as therapists should take that responsibility probably of bringing the society
Yeah.
together also this
Yeah.
way.
And I feel when you move together, we also grow together. These movements, these very simple, like hand holding and moving in a circle.
Right.
But even that can help one grow such deep bonds with people because that's now a ritual
Right.
which a person is doing every year. They're looking forward to it, dressing up nicely. And so the moment we use fancy words to describe
Right.
very basic things, they become appealing. So the concept of a bhondla might not seem appealing, but then, a ritual of collective movement suddenly sounds very interesting.
Right. Correct. Yeah, and I just admire. I think Vanita's episode is one of my
Yep,
favorite episodes
yep.
because I am so connected to Indian knowledge systems,
Yeah,
right? So I
yeah,
really admire what our ancestors did. They kept the culture intact for generations
mhm,
together. They kept
yeah,
the families together. They kept the
yeah,
social gatherings happening, and as a collective society, they all probably they had a different challenge altogether during their times, but what was really appreciable was the way they all dealt with everything together, right?
yeah,
Is,
yeah,
I think, too good.
yeah. Also, this is a good advertisement for group therapy sessions. And we talked about it with Gopika and
Yes.
how once the group gets sort of gelled together, it becomes so easy to narrate one's experiences and feelings after the activity or in general in life, because now there's that safe space that's built where one can share without fear of judgment, even in a group. And so, even Gopika,
Right.
I remember, had so many interesting anecdotes from her practice with groups.
Yes, and Gopika's episode, I think it almost became like a debate. Individual sessions versus group
Versus
sessions,
group, yeah.
workshops versus longer duration sessions.
Yep,
So it
yep.
was almost that, and we all went towards pro group
Pro
sessions
group,
and
yeah.
long duration sessions because
Yep.
that is something human beings as social animals
Mm,
require a
yeah.
society. We are not meant to be in our homes and in our cabinets and working with myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gopika's episode was a good reminder of how having a group around to share and just talk without
Mm,
being judged. That's the whole space that a therapist creates, and that is very, very therapeutic. Not
absolutely.
even moving, just that space is enough. You just come to that
Exactly.
space and that's it,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, so again, there are just like so, I feel every episode there was some key learning point to take away. Like we might not be able to mention all of them, but I feel Deepti, like I feel this is a good place to ask you how it was doing sessions with Sukriti and Preeti, because we have learned with them and we have done kind of sessions with them, but the setup was really different. We also used to have so many questions for them, but again, the questions we used to have in our classes came from a point of absolutely not knowing anything about the subject to now knowing enough to at least ask the right questions.
So I think questions were still coming up, Purva. And as you mentioned, I think this time the questions were more from a facilitator's perspective.
Hmm.
That time it was more, I am a student and you're my teacher.
Yes.
And, this is my curiosity, and can
Hmm.
you address that? But here it was more from that practice perspective, and it was from a perspective of, if this is what my client brings up, then how, as a therapist, would you deal? And
Hmm.
again, there was a little bit of learning from them,
Yep, of
but
course.
this time the role had changed for me. And now I can go back and look back at what we learned in a different light altogether. That is something that I felt after both their episodes, right?
Hmm.
That time it was no practical experience and learning all the theory.
Yeah.
But now when I talk to them, I know that, okay, there is a way of practically using this in the sessions,
Hmm.
or
Correct.
what we learned then is what we are going to use in our sessions this way. So that was what came up for me. And yes, of course, with their experiences and their number of clients that they have dwelt with, number of groups they have been teaching and doing therapy for, there's a lot to learn from them.
Yeah,
That's
of
definitely them.
course. Of course. For me, what stood out through most episodes was also we are doing, like, we are all working in different spheres of DMT. There are a lot of people who are doing other things also. Like, we are also both dancing and teaching. But some things are just so universal. So when we did the episode with Anne, for example, so she's French, and there was a bit of a language barrier there also. But even through that, we could communicate in terms of how movement changed for us when it became therapeutic, rather than there being a need for it to be professional and right, rather than it just being right for you. And so, even like that
Right.
was one very important takeaway. And through everyone we spoke, there was always some common thread with the guest for me.
Sure. I think, yeah, universal movement. And we saw how, as a society, Akshita brought that out very clearly, right? The corporate culture has brought in a kind of end to that movement, and they are all restricted, and movements are only to the keyboard, and
Hmm.
legs are all flat all the time. So, and how she just asks them to keep their devices away
Hmm.
and not focus on the time and plan, and just focus on be with yourself, flow with movements, and don't do anything, and that itself becomes therapeutic for them. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think a continuation was that was Preeti when she brought that out too, right? We are not used to moving, and we do the same repeated movements over and over again, and hence the blocks that come
Hmm.
along with that, and causing not just physical blocks, mental blocks too,
Yeah.
many a
Yeah.
number of times.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Yeah.
how was it while we spoke about, we did with Anne, it was movement and yoga. And
Hmm.
if you remember with Madhvi, it was movement and chakra healing
Chakras.
and
Yeah.
pranic healing and all those practices.
Yeah.
So what did that bring up for you, Purva?
So, to be very honest, Deepti, even like with the chakra module that we had when we were learning, I was a bit skeptical because I didn't fully understand. But when we did some activities, even though they were online, they worked so well, because they have such deep roots in kinesthetic empathy. So, for someone to become a chakra healer, they might not need all the fancy stones and the boho outfits if they have basic kinesthetic empathy and they work on it. And similar is with Madhvi, right? Even the way she speaks about it, it is so soft but serious, is what I feel. Like, she's very soft. She comes from a place of immense empathy, but she is not flimsy, or she's not carefree about it. So, like, for me, that's also one avenue which I might be open to work with as a client, rather than, uh, you
Hmm.
know, I don't think I have it in me yet to become. a learned person in the realm of chakras, but it is on my bucket list to do like an aura, it's called something.
Aura scanning.
Aura scanning, correct. And it's, by
Yeah.
the way, aura is becoming like this very trendy Gen Z thing. I recently heard a term called aura farming. So I think that's
Okay.
where you cultivate your aura. I'm not sure,
Oh,
but this is
no.
becoming like a big thing in the Gen Z community.
Oh, I don't want to get into that zone because that's it's a
Yeah.
different world altogether. But
Mm-mm.
yeah, Madhavi's episode, right? Something just came up to me. Yeah, we were talking about how the chakra healing and DMT go hand in hand, and um, I think it completely went. The Gen Z came in and completely took that thought
Took
away from
everything
me. They
away. Yeah.
are. Yeah, whenever it has to come back, it will come back. Yeah.
Hmm.
So overall, I think we had a very, sometimes very heavy times, and
Yep.
sometimes it was so much fun to talk
Yep.
to others,
Yep.
and sometimes it was so like surprising that some things just came up,
Yeah.
isn't it? If you remember,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
were some
Also,
moments where,
yeah, with
hmm,
Sukruti, I felt it was a little heavy because we talked about very sensitive things i- with respect to trauma. So for me also, I needed some time off, some regulation to be okay with it. But yeah. So for me, Deepti, because like we are obviously equal parts in this journey, we know we have spoken about the disappointments we have faced because in terms of getting actual work, but I feel after every episode there was that sense of assurance that acha, okay, we might not be able to make any real money out of it, but the awareness is being created. Like even a, no, a random Instagram message saying you're doing good work seems so heartwarming, and for me at least it gives me a purpose like okay, there are people watching and it might be helping someone.
correct. No, I think that is very important, Purva, in our line of work because um, even though it's such a big part of our culture, movement is part of who we are, but how to use it for specific intentions or how to use it for healing and how to use it for making oneself uh, become more aware about their own self is not very common. And DMT being such an easy way, DMT being through the body, you're knowing yourself better, you're healing yourself, you're
Mm.
dealing with stress and trauma and depression and any of those big so-called terminologies and words, right? I feel being a dancer, being into this zone, that through body, a lot of things get simplified. A lot of um, clarity comes in just by knowing yourself with your body through your body,
Yeah,
so yeah, it does make me feel good. Yes, external validity helps, but from within I know that this is very profound and
yeah,
this is very impactful and this is something which can be done by everybody. I think our episode was there, no, that spoke about how it can be suitable for most populations
everyone.
and
Yeah,
almost everyone,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, yes, so it
yeah,
does give that sense of satisfaction when we did all these episodes.
yeah. Also, when you're talking about how it is important to find peace and validation within us, it sort of brought me to Aruna's conversation, the one we
Hmm.
had with her, regarding non-verbal communication. So how actually the best way to communicate with ourselves is through the medium of movement, which is non-verbal, like just moving and understanding our body, or just being calm also, just looking a little inwards, and with the, having a good hold on non-verbal communication, which DMT, so I feel effortlessly teaches one. So I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's there.
So that brings me to that point, Purva, where I want to ask you, as a therapist now, what do you aspire to do? What is the population, or which is the field that you would like to explore in DMT?
So I don't know, Deepti, because the thing, it's for me, it's become like the more I know, the more I know how less I know. You know? So
Yes.
for me, like during my practice, one thing I realized is that dancers is one group which is also close to my heart. Helping dancers understand their bodies better using DMT techniques, helping them understand how to navigate through difficult times is one thing. Also, because I am a military wife, I see there is so much anxiety in our community regarding the welfare of our husband and family.
Right.
And there's a big, big gap with when it comes to psychological and emotional support for the community because we are sort of portrayed as the silent ranks and the, you know, ever suffering lot, and which is there, but there is no harm in having a bit of support. So I feel
Right.
this is also one community that I really want to work with because again, very close to my heart. So let's see. I'm like trying to find avenues to work. I'm trying to, go through the right channels for it to happen. So I really feel it'll help. It helps everyone, but I feel I'm better equipped to help these two groups. What about you?
So, yes, dancers group is something that is close to my heart also, and that's where
Mm.
both of our
Yeah.
interests come
Yeah.
together. That's where we meet. And artists and dancers is something that I would love to work with,
Mm.
and I am working with also.
Mm.
Secondly, it's families that I work with, like how you're a military wife, I am an educator. So that personality of mine, right? Helping families learn together, grow together, understand their children better, parents
Mm.
understanding children, because non-verbal communication is what matters in that zone. It's never what you talk, it's what you are that matters. And going even deeper, at pregnancy stages, at preconception
Mm.
stages, when there's not even a child that can even say ah ooh, those sounds are also not there. It's just with abstract movements and abstract energies that you're interacting with.
Mm.
So that is something that I would love to explore. And third, I think we are both planning to do this, reach out to a larger, wider population through simple WhatsApp videos and WhatsApp communications. That's on our
That's
to-do
coming
list, which
soon. Coming soon.
coming soon. So
Lot of
coming soon,
things
we are
are in the
working towards
works.
that.
Mm.
So we are putting it out there.
Yep.
We are going to launch many such avenues for people to explore dance movement therapy, and we invite you to follow our page so that you stay updated and you become a part of this community who moves together.
Right. So I think this is a good place to stop. And Deepti, why don't you do a gesture that's coming for you right now?
Okay, so I think for me, it's the raindrops falling. The weather is just so suitable for me right now. That's one thing. Apart from that, I think the ideas are just falling down, and
Mm.
a lot of discussions that happened, they're all like pitter-patter raindrops that are
Yeah.
falling. So
Yeah.
that's the gesture for me.
Ah.
What's coming up for you?
So for me, it's like because we are talking about movement and growth. So like an upward vine growing, something like that is coming for me. And yeah, I just want to like say that. So actually, when Deepti and I just talk, the conversations are very similar, even off the camera, and which is what gave us the idea to start something where people can just hear us talk, because so many different ideas keep coming up. And so, through Therapeutic Thursdays, we found a very good avenue and a platform to showcase that. And through that matter, through that, we have gotten to interact with so many amazing people. And there's also a bit of nostalgia there. There's also a bit of wonderment. And we're very happy that we started, I feel I can say, for the both of us. And
Yes, very proud
being
of the
very,
fact that
yeah, very proud.
we, yeah, because I don't think it was very easy for both of us to come and show our faces
Yeah,
and speak our
yeah,
hearts
yeah,
out to
yeah.
a social media kind of a setup. Right? Yes, within our rooms, within a group, it's a different story altogether. But opening our hearts out in front of a larger audience and on a weekly basis is something that we
Yeah,
have done, and hence
yeah,
it makes me really proud. Um, I'm very glad that we did it, Purva,
yeah,
and
me
I
too.
hope to do many more such episodes with I think there are a lot of therapists. It'll be
Mm,
great to have everyone
yeah,
on board and
absolutely.
invite everyone. And I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to the next season. Of course, we do have few more episodes to go,
Coming up, yeah.
but coming up, but the next season is going to be interesting.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll be sharing our Instagram page link in the bio as well. So please follow us on Instagram and YouTube for more content and be a part of the movement community. So thank you so much.
Yes, have a wonderful week ahead. Bye bye.
Bye bye.